my God. That was awesome.
Don, I can't believe you work with that man.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we just had the most awesome conversation with Jake Kaplan. It was full of so much energy and insight onto his creative process. We talked about everything from his music to bicycles to the songs that we listen to, how things transport us back to those special times in our lives. It was fantastic. I mean, what do you feel?
I've
Sam?
always wondered the creative process behind songwriting, and Jake laid it down in a way that I don't know if other people would lay it down. I mean, his process is mind-blowing. He was showing us what he writes down, how he comes up with it, and it's so complex and impressive, and it all comes from the heart. I just think it was fantastic to hear about.
Wonderful. So glad we got to share a little bit of Jake Kaplan with you all. Give a listen, and you can thank us later.
All right, please welcome our friend Jake Kaplan.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back.
There's no ladies listening to this podcast now.
There are only ladies listening. Actually, if you looked at our demographics, 70% of the people listening are ladies.
I have no idea if you're being honest or not.
I am being totally upfront with you.
Really?
For sure.
Hello, ladies.
Actually, any art content that we have put out, 70% of the consumers of said content are women.
Get out of town.
For sure.
It's got to be because of our good looks.
Well, you can speak for yourself. I'm going to sit this one out. So we are so lucky to have my good friend Jake Kaplan with us
Jake
today.
Kaplan in the house. Hey, I'm gonna wait.
What?
There it is.
Oh, we got a
Hey, how are you?
recorded before a live audience.
Don, how do you know Jake? How did this come about?
Okay, so Jake and I work for the same store, which we'll leave off of this until they start paying us for commercial.
Yeah. Nice.
I'll show them.
Hold them to it. Yeah.
So when I interviewed for the job at the store, Jake was there, and so was his dog Moose, which is the finest pooch in the world.
What kind of dog we talking here?
Moose is mostly Australian cattle dog, but she's got some German Shepherd too. She's basically perfect.
I've never heard of that first dog you said, but
Australian.
I'm a big
If you
fan.
saw one, you'd like recognize. Here's her in the morning light.
Oh, that's a cutie right there.
Yeah, you can put that in the episode description.
We'll just use that as the picture for the episode.
Yeah, forget about me.
Maybe I'll show you the picture of the first day that Jake and I met and when I met Moose. Because he just sent me that picture.
Oh, look at that picture. Oh, this is a happy dog. That dog looks like he is smiling big.
It's the best dog.
He's got a great name, Moose.
She.
She. Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Moose.
Miss Moose. Oh, look at that cutie. How old is she?
Like 4-ish.
I love how we're showing pictures on a podcast.
This is the day.
Yeah, that's the day we met.
Dude, your head is shaved so beautifully in that photo.
Yeah.
And, that looks like a happy dog right there.
It's a good dog. So that's how we met, and we worked together for a little over 2 years.
Yeah, but we were already connected before that because Don knows my cousin through the arts, through theater. And when he posted that picture, she texted me a screenshot of that post and was like, "Is this your dog with Don?" And I was like, actually it is, yeah. But she's like, what's going on there? I was like, yeah. So we were kind of already in the same orbit before we met.
Yeah.
We would have probably met anyway, I think.
Yeah, it is a small world.
It kind of seems like that.
Yeah. So you work at the bike shop too. Is that because you were just looking for a gig? Or are you like really into bikes?
I am really into bikes. Yeah.
Dude, when this isn't about me. I want to hear about you, but I gotta tell you, I moved out of New York City once I had kids. But man, there's some things I miss about New York City. But the one thing I miss more than anything is taking my bike around those streets and dodging those taxis and going in and out of those bike lanes. And that was my favorite part of the city.
And you still do you live in Hamilton?
Mm-hmm.
You're
literally at my house. So
okay, yeah,
my house
nice.
is a school.
Cool. Yeah, I thought I was pretty sure I knew that, but I didn't want to assume. You still live in a good place to ride bikes. I really like bikes. They have always piqued my interest, like since I was a little kid. And basically, I mean, the way I wound up working there is by extension of my career in the arts, right? I'm a trained musician. That's what that's who I am. When people ask me what I do, I say, do you want to know what my job is? Like, because to me, they're very different. But like, when the pandemic started, I just didn't have any work. Because that's just, but I was teaching at a nonprofit in Philly. I had a bunch of private students. I was performing a lot. I was doing commissions, like writing for different organizations and stuff like that. And basically, all my work just dried up. So I waited a while and like tried to see if it would come back. It was taking too long, and I was like, I need a job. What else do I like? I applied to the bike shop, Barnes and Noble, and Reanimator Coffee, and the only one that called me back was this one, which was the one I wanted the most. But that was then that was like just a job. I'm not like a big company man, but I'm definitely like a big bike man. Big bike baby boy.
Yeah.
But like, they mean so much to me, and I think they're like this like super powerful symbol of like expression and like self-actualization and like
Expression?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Please explain.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, okay. Like, you can buy one off the shelf. But how quickly do you become attached to it, right? So, like, you think about being a kid, and you get one, right? You're given one, and you're given another, and you're sort of given another, and then we all get to this, like, line somewhere between, like, 16 and 19 when people generally start driving in New Jersey, right? And then it sort of falls off your radar for, I would say, 95% of the people, right? And then this, like, line comes where you maybe get the hankering, and you're like, hey, I want to do this again. And now you're going to buy one for yourself. And like people don't, or like, forget about buying one. It could be in a store, but it could also be on Facebook. I got my first one at the Berlin Mart for $110. It was a piece of junk, but it was the best.
At what age did you, in your adult life, purchase this?
I was just when I finished high school. So I was 18. And I was getting ready to go to college, and I thought I would need a bike to go to have at college, and I didn't use it ever. But I rode it a lot at home. And I just like remember having so many moments of like, holy crap, like I'm fat and I'm going so fast. And it felt so good, and it felt so free, and like I didn't care what I looked like or how I felt, cuz it's just like it's something I've grown to admire as a wholly unique feeling, the way it feels to ride a bike. But like we get so attached to these things, like you pick it, it's yours. You go through things on that. I think when you have that kind of like, it doesn't have to be super athletic, right? It can be just recreational. Sure. But like you have this thing where you're using your body and you're moving along, and you have no choice but to be wholly present. Because if you're not, you're going to crash and get hurt. You have to be right there. And there's so much that comes out of that, and you like grow, and I think you like ooze on the bike, like your emotions are a little bit closer to your mouth or your brain, and it's all a little bit more closely connected. It comes out more. When I ride with my fiance, we're like, it's like the most hormonal, like stressy sometimes, but also like love fest sometimes, because it's so emotional just when you're out there and you feel that way. And it's like powerful.
You're taking me back, dude. Like I'm having this flashback because like I wasn't like
Sorry,
you.
that was a super monologue.
I loved it. I loved it. It really did bring me back to like I'm living in New York City. I'm seeing other people bike around. I'm taking the subway, which I don't particularly love. And I remember so well. So I was, I'd say about 27, 28. And I hadn't ridden a bike since I was maybe 16, maybe younger. And I remember the moment so well of leaving the store. And I'm like, oh, wait, I can just bike back to Williamsburg. I can just bike back home. And I remember the first moments of riding. I'm like, oh, my God, this feels amazing. And then the best part was, you know, I'm huffing and puffing going up Williamsburg Bridge. But then you get to the top and you start going down and you're just feeling the wind and you're passing by all the people walking and you're going down this big ass bridge in New York City. And man, it really was the most freeing, special moment. I loved that bike until it got stolen.
Yep.
Someone said that was the death of it. Like when I'm at a restaurant with my friend and I go outside and I'm like, I could have sworn I chained my bike to this pole, and I'm looking up and down. Finally, I just came to. I'm like, I got my bike stolen, and it was crushing.
Yeah, that's like one of the ways they go. It's like, do you ever like check out like the ways stars can end? Like there's a few different ways. This is like what I get into on my own time. Just like in bed looking at stupid stuff like that. Like there's like 6 or 8 different ways like stars go. Like they either like become like dwarfs or giant. Like they keep getting bigger, right? And then they like cool off. Or they keep getting hotter and smaller.
So, like, when they get too big, like, they're almost too big for themselves and they can't keep burning?
Like, sometimes they, like, just kind of stop. Yeah, they stop burning. Sometimes you get, like, the black hole situation where they blow up and you get the supernova and all that stuff, right? Like, there's a couple different ways it can go. That's one of those for a bike, is it gets stolen. And then it leaves you sort of, like, in this, like, nebulous place of, like, okay, I had, like, a lot of memories and... a lot of attachments there, right?
Miles,
miles, right? And like, this is the thing, man. It doesn't have to be like a sporty thing, and it can be. That's what's so cool about it, right? It can also just be slow. It's really good to ride bikes slow. That doesn't get enough love. And when I talk about it being a thing about expression, that's what I mean. Is it's like it's there for me in the different ways I feel, and even on stuff I've just picked up off the shelf. I felt so much connection to it and so much like meaning into what it looks like and how it feels. But now at this point, like I work in the freaking industry.
I was going to say, man, they need to give you a raise or whatever. Like...
Well, now it's just about like I can make the choices about every single thing on the machine. Right. And that is a whole other level of expression is like, I'm looking at it in terms of like a working piece of a working project, right? Like might as well be an art piece, right? I make the decisions, the aesthetic decisions, the functional decisions. At this point, I've spent time to dig into making mechanical decisions, how I want it to feel and why, what type of gears I want and why. Why would I want something that's cheaper and quote unquote worse than something that's more expensive or better because maybe it's just more appropriate for what I'm doing. Things like that, plus like colors and shiny things and stuff like that, man. It's like, you know, and then you get to ride it. Then you get to feel the whole thing about the feeling it on the thing you made. You know, it's special.
Dude, I want to ride a bike right now.
Good. Nice. Yeah, Don, I actually love this shit, man. So I said I wasn't going to.
Yeah, it's all right. No one's fucking listening.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Well,
no,
except all those ladies.
Except all the women.
Ladies.
Sorry. Pardon my French. So you should come test ride a bike at the store.
Maybe I will, man. I would love to.
We'll get you on an electric bike. It'll be fun.
Ooh, electric. I don't know about that. I kind of like the old school just pedaling.
That's fine, but you'd still have fun on an electric bike just for a test ride.
No doubt. Those things get charged? You just charge them and go?
Yeah.
It's like you pedal and you use the charge, right?
Yeah. Most of the stuff is pedal assist, which is you pedal on, and you'll have like backup power that'll give you a little bit more hitch and
a
giddy
little
up.
boost.
Yeah.
I like that. All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Do you ride?
I have a bike.
Okay.
Do I ride? No, mostly I commute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When I do ride, it's really like I've ridden into town a couple of times. I've ridden out to like where the soccer fields and stuff are.
Yeah.
You ought to do a day at Batstow, Don.
I've done a day at that stuff.
I've done that. I did
would-
some mountain biking there.
Yeah.
Is that considered mountain biking, trail riding, whatever?
Yeah.
Kaylee's a much stronger rider now, so like I think
I thought you were gonna say stronger rider than you.
that's probably also true. So,
Well-
yeah, and Jen has pretty much the same bike that I do, but from a different manufacturer. So,
Do you remember what happened to me? Did you hear what happened to me when I went to Batstow with my kids?
no.
Oh my God.
Jersey Devil.
Worse than that. Worse than the Jersey Devil. My son, who is a type 1 diabetic.
Oh, I did.
Oh
hear
God,
this.
this is way worse.
Oh,
than
it
serious.
was
I'm sorry.
it was terrible. It was his first ride. Not an easy thing for a kid to do, but I knew he could do it.
Mm-hmm.
However, when we were riding, I might be getting the story wrong at the moment, but I'm pretty sure what ended up happening is his sugar tabs bounced out of his fanny pack, and we didn't realize.
okay.
And so all of a sudden, we are halfway into this, I think, 6-mile trail. And he just says, Dad, I feel low. We get off the bike. Sugar tabs are gone. I said, that's impossible. I checked it like 10 times. And we finally realized it must have fallen out. And so he's feeling low. I'm having him sit on the handlebars. His older brother, who they're usually at it, they're usually fighting, is, like, Casey, you can do this. Come on, come on. And I am losing my mind, not knowing if I'm getting closer, if maybe we took a wrong turn. And we made it. We survived. Luckily, it turns out that his body went into panic mode because apparently you have some stored glucose that when your body goes into that panic mode, it releases the glucose. So on his own, like as he's slumping on my handlebars, and I'm like, oh my God, please just be okay, Casey. Suddenly he straightens up. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Is he okay? And we look at his number and it's gone up on its own. And man, that was,
crazy.
it was the one, I can't imagine something in my life that was scarier than that.
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
was terrifying.
Wow.
For sure.
That was an experience. Yeah. But I think we're gonna try it again.
Yeah.
I think we're ready to try it again.
Yeah, and like, and
Yeah.
especially like if he wants it, right? That can be it can be so like it's a thing to come back to always, right? And like I've seriously ate it, man. Like I've got kind of pretty hurt a couple of times, and it's just like, it comes with the territory. And I wouldn't encourage anyone to be reckless, of course.
Yeah.
But, like, when you get back on, it tells you a lot about yourself, I think. And that's not to, to make anybody who isn't ready to get back on feel a certain way, right? Sometimes these things take a lot of time. But especially if Casey's ready to go back out, you guys should tear it up, man.
Yeah.
You'll have such a great day, because that's definitely not going to happen again.
Yeah, no.
Right? There's no chance of that.
We're going to be holding them in every pocket.
Right, and everybody's going to have tabs, and you're
Yeah.
going to have
all the tabs.
goodies and gummies and fruit and everything, right? That's
Yeah.
not going to happen
We'll be
again.
uber prepared.
Yeah, and now you guys can go out and breathe. And it's like if you get lost, you can have that time back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, have fun with it.
It can be so empowering. Like one of my favorite things since working at the shop is I've done build projects for friends. Some people have bought like build projects I did for myself. But like, I gave my dad his first bike since like I think 04 or 05. Like he had to toss it one of the times we moved and just never replaced it. And I built it for him. Like I picked his favorite color and made him choices he would like and stuff like that, and done some for other friends who have different goals, who want to maybe start doing distance or different things like that, or, try certain events, try mixing things up, to be able to give that to someone, especially because it's something I'm so passionate about, has been so special. And like, outside of being a music person and I guess being a bike person, which is like, I'm talking about right now, which is so dark, but whatever. Outside
We'll
of,
get to the music, dude.
yeah, outside of that, I also like write a lot, like prose, And I write like short stories and poetry about bikes all the time, and like nonfiction narrative and just like memoir and like all this stuff about bikes constantly, because like I said, it's so distinct. At least for me, it's so distinct. It drives my creativity so much, which drives me nuts because I like going to work sometimes, but like, man, that's not a bad thing.
No,
sometimes
dude.
it feels like it. Sometimes it maybe
No,
it
you're
is.
clearly passionate about it.
Yeah, but it's crazy how as I'm getting older, I'm starting to find there's like a couple of things that I've really held on to, and that really inspire me and still drive me like all the time.
That's awesome, dude. Before we get to the music, because we definitely have to get to that. That's why we brought you here, but I'm just curious. From a guy who's been hit by cars and gotten stitches and all that good stuff, what's the best bump you've ever had
Oh, sure.
on your bike?
Do you want to know about the stupidest one
Yeah.
or the most significant one?
Oh, God, that's a tough decision.
Neither
Dang
of them
it,
were
man.
like really that bad. Like nothing was like hospital bad.
All right, maybe give me the cliff notes of one of them and the story on the other, because
Okay,
I'm just
well,
curious.
the cliff notes on the worst one was when I was new to it. I was going pretty fast. It was my first time doing a 50-mile ride. Actually, after all, it was 54, and I crashed at mile 49 because my feet slipped off the pedals. I was still using like the flat pedals, not the kind you click into, and they started spinning underneath me, and I looked down to try to find my footing, and I tossed the handlebars and went over.
Okay.
So I kind of got shredded up a little bit, and it sucked, and I got pretty banged up.
But you made it to 54?
Yeah, finished it.
Right
Little gory, but finished it. The other one is so funny, and that's why I won't consume a substance and ride a bike ever again, is I had one high life at lunchtime.
Singular highlight?
God bless me, I had a high life at lunch, you know what I mean? And for some reason, I had a slip of focus when I was riding home. This is in Philly. Like I pulled up next to a school bus, and I looked back, and I looked forward, and I looked back, and I looked forward. I started riding, and I looked back at the bus, and by the time I looked forward again, I was like veering off, and I hit the back of a mail truck. I threw my hands up, banged up my hands. I had a gig that night. I had to play. I had to like surprise play electric bass. Didn't want to, but did that because my hands were all bruised. I also like my whole triangle, that whole part.
Yeah, that's
I don't. Yeah,
special place.
Yeah, like really kind of. Yeah, it got that pretty worked too. That was the stupid one. Yeah.
Oh, God, I bet the kids in the school bus love that
Yeah,
show.
yeah, it was probably a really good late bus home that day, yeah, for sure.
So, you are a musician, sir.
I am.
I believe a bass guitar player for the band Featherbird. Am I correct?
That's true. Good facts.
Thank you.
Good facts. Yeah.
That's about all I know, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Although I did listen to some of your jams. I was enjoying
cool.
them in the car with my kiddos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So is that the genre? Would you say, are you guys jazz?
That band I would not say is jazz.
What is that?
Beats me. I describe it usually as garage funk. But I don't know if that's right. Basically, the way I've come to understand it is it's all my influences just filtered through me. It like kind of the genre of the like there's some through lines for sure. Like there's some like aesthetic through lines and there's some like influential through lines, but there's also a lot of it that's just like I think my personality that comes through in the music too. So it's hard to genreify it, I think. But that's like one part of it. I also do jazz, and I also have like an indie rock band. I have like a full like 19-piece big band that I write for, and like a few other projects as well. Like always kind of doing different stuff.
The way you're speaking, like, are you the one who writes the music for all these bands?
Yeah.
You write all of it.
Yeah. I'm also a composer. Like, yes, I do play bass, but I would say I think of myself more as a composer than a bass player.
So how do you compose? Like what's your process to getting down like your lead sheets and all that?
Yeah,
kind of stuff?
I always start with the title, which is funny because we were talking about names at work today, and we were talking about how names and identity are so consequential for the world, and how, like I said, like how almost every culture has a, given name, family name. Like, anyway, to answer your question, tangent guy, yeah, I always start with a title because I want to know what it's going to be about before I start doing it. Sometimes I goof and just, play around with sounds and stuff, but that usually is something else, like a different sort of creative phase. If I'm like actually trying to do something, yeah, title, and then start to flesh it out. Lately, I've been doing a lot more weird stuff, visual scores, like mixed notation where it's like in shorthand, like kind of write stuff down in English, and sometimes just giving instructions, or lots of different like ways to yield results. But yeah, lately it's you got to know what it's going to be about. The music has to have some heart. It has to come from somewhere, I think. And also, like, I try to put a lot of intentionality into who it's going to be for, like who's going to be performing it, and try to give those musicians inroads into the music to help it come alive.
Whoa.
So when you're writing, you write for the specific musicians that you want to play these pieces?
As often as I can. I think in the next phase of my creative career, that's kind of central to it, because I'm starting to care a lot more about who's playing it instead of what instrument they're playing or how, like, quote unquote good they are, right? I'm interested to hear people who have come to some sort of decision on their voice through the instrument, and then let them have some space to do their thing. I think there's so many musicians I get to work with who I think like knock my socks off all the time. Like, it's amazing how amazing our peers, like people just are. I know you know this, Don, like just being involved with our club and having so many friends and colleagues in the arts, and like even the extensions of what we see at our freaking day job, and like, when we talk through like our times in college and all these weird offshoots, and like, we're working in the bike shop and he and I will just start doing the Music Man or whatever. Like all these dumb things. But it's...
Sorry. You rude. This man is spilling his heart out.
What else is new? Oversharing.
I was just done with the story.
He's playing me off. Do you have a playoff on that, on those hot buttons? Yeah, I lost the thread a little bit.
Oh, here we go. Wait, I got something for you. There it is. That's what
I got it. Nice. That sad trombone brought it back. Yeah, I think writing for specific musicians is central, because I want those people to express. That made me think about Duke Ellington, who is, I would say, one of the forebearers of that approach, writing for specific musicians. I'm not a big Duke Ellington guy, but as I get older, I like it more and more and more and more. It says more and more to me. It doesn't make sense when you look at it academically, but then you listen to it and it's like, oh, okay, cool, whoa, serious. Duke Ellington, yeah.
When you say first you come up with the title, is that like as literal as it gets? Like before there's even a sound in your head? Like you make
I
the
have like a
title?
list of titles on my phone, or like in my notebooks. I just write down like things I want to make music about, or a title, and then just kind of try to write the title.
And from a dummy like myself, like I was listening to your music, and there were no, at least what I was listening to, there was no lyrics to it.
Almost never. I do have some projects that do have lyrics. I have this band called Widow Douglas, with two of my good friends, Chelsea Galt, who sings with us, and she's a lyricist, and one of my friends, Reed Bodenstein, who is, like, in my opinion, one of those like prolific peers I was talking about. I always like try to give Reed props when I can. He's like one of my great friends, but I think he's one of my favorite composers as well. Great songwriter, great composer. But we do this project together, and that is a vocal lyrics thing.
And so after, I'm so fascinated by this. So after you come up with the title, like, what is step number 2? This, I mean, to me, this sounds really complicated.
No, man. No. It's not complicated at all. Because to me, it's. I mean, for my approach, right? It's all contextual. So like, I kind of have. There's a lot of behind the scenes like homework of not paying attention in school and practicing music theory instead, and doing ear training classes and like riding in the car with my dad while he was learning songs for his cover bands and teaching me how to identify what the chords are just by listening, and like all these other things that help me sort of think about something, whatever it is. It can be literal or abstract or whatever, and kind of sit down and look at a keyboard and sort of know where to start. I mean, I guess that's a blessing, but like...
Is that what you start with? You start just making sound on a keyboard?
Usually I write it on piano, but it depends. Like when I write for Featherbird, it's usually on guitar more because that's such a guitar band. It helps me get to the core of it a little faster. Helps me find the spirit a little faster. But yeah, I like the piano. I always say, like when I work with my composition students, I always tell them like my writing voice is informed by the fact that I suck so much at piano because I can't really play piano. I play piano like a bass player, right? My left hand's doing one thing, my right hand's doing another thing. They're not really working in conjunction. But then when you apply that to actual composition and notation, a 19-piece big band, say, right, it just kind of translates itself. But that's not common. It's just kind of what happens by me sucking at piano and thinking that way. You know what I mean? So that's why when I say writing music for specific musicians, everyone's individual voice, no matter quote unquote how quote unquote good they are, it doesn't matter because those people are going to make the thing happen. That's why I'm kind of tearing down this road, because I think it's just going to open this layer of accessibility to instrumental music that a lot of people, I think, have trouble grasping at, because it can be so unapproachable without words sometimes. But it's like, how can I do that without that, I guess? I don't know. Like my old teacher used to say, can you communicate your artist statement without writing an artist statement? But I always say like that's a question I consider every time I make anything. But I always say like, it's not in a vacuum. Like people will get to see that artist statement and you can sort of explain yourself. But it's definitely, I think, a smart approach to think about what you can do without that, and if your point's gonna come across or not.
When you guys are performing these songs, I guess it might change from band to band, but is everything tight and exact, or are you guys doing some improv in there? How does it work?
Yeah, it just depends on the piece. It depends on the band. It's all context. I would say most of what I do is a decent percentage of improvisation. Sometimes that's really in the box, like with Featherbird. That's funky, like it's jammy, it's dancey.
That's how I was feeling when I was listening.
Yeah, that's that. I also I'm really inspired by like a lot of like free jazz and like contemporary classical and like AACM, which is like a Chicago movement of improvised music. A lot of like free weird stuff that's just kind of like maybe can come across as sounding like bad, but I mean, I always take the approach of like, it doesn't sound bad, it just sounds like that. You know what I mean? Like you get older and like food stops tasting bad, you just realize you don't like it. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same for music. And I don't know, I've always liked music that sounds like pretty crazy. I've always had an attraction to it, but as I get older, I'm starting to marry these things a little bit more and find where it's all connected. And like, I don't know, there's certain parameters that help people excel when they improvise and certain parameters that are obstacles when people improvise. And I'm like trying to experiment with what works for these people. I need to get to know these people to do it most successfully, you know?
Wow.
Sorry.
No, dude, this is like, I've never like heard someone speak about music quite like you do. It's really interesting.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Out of all these bands that you do you have a like? Oh, I had another question first before I ask that. You were talking about your dad. Like, is he the reason that you got into this, or what influenced you to?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could say no. Like there's certain things. I'm lucky. My dad was a trombone player who started playing bass because he wanted to get gigs. And he went to college.
Who is he covering, by the way?
He does like a bunch of stuff. He's like the particular thing I was referencing is like he used to play in this group that did a lot of like Atlantic City jobs. So top 40, but also like Jimmy Buffett and like country stuff and like classic rock tunes and like I don't know. I grew up listening to him learn how to learn this stuff by ear. And he would teach me I was a kid, so when he tried to teach me, I was like getting all pissy and fussy, and I'm like, I don't want to, leave me alone, blah, I don't want to do this, blah. And then I kind of came home and I was like, I think I want to play trombone. And then in high school, I was like, I think I want to play bass. And I sort of accidentally fell in the same trajectory, but his career is in instrument rental to kids in schools. So definitely a little bit more on like the business side of that. I definitely felt more connected to the creative side of it. So yeah, I would say it's a big part of it. Like I learned so much from him, and as I get older, I'm like more eager and interested to talk to him about it. I mean, he did a lot of my dream jobs. He tells me about when he would play disco gigs in like 1980. Like they would play disco gigs and they would like go out in Manhattan at like 2 to 6 a.m.
Oh, Manhattan
and stuff like
in
that.
The 80s. Huh?
Yeah, and like I always say if there was a decade, I wanted to be in like New York like 73 to 83. And I know what that's like. And
a little dangerous, brother.
Yeah, no, yeah. I know. But
cool,
like,
cool.
dude.
Yeah.
Everything I love, a lot of the things I love.
Yeah.
Just were right there at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I get older, I'm like more inclined to say that there is a big part of that. And also like there's this random like my dad's whole family is musical. His sister is a music teacher, her daughter who is 40 is a music teacher. And then they have some younger daughters who are a younger daughter and a younger son who just finished college and they're both music teachers. Like it's all there. And on my mom's side, they just like country music and they dance. My dad's side is like jazz and theater. I like classic rock. I fell in love with it on my own. Zeppelin.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. I mean, I used to be like the kid. Like I would try to learn as many of the songs as I could that came on like MGK. Because, the classic rock station for context for all of our listeners. Like I would hear it and try to learn the name and learn the artist and learn how they sound and listen to more of their music. Meanwhile, my dad's kind of teaching me how to hear what I'm hearing and interpret it so I can learn it better. Stuff like that. Like it's incalculable how much of an influence it was. But also there's a lot that I like that he wants nothing to do with. Like when I talk about free jazz and improvised stuff, that's so not his scene. He's like, whatever you want to do, man. Like he respects it, but he doesn't care for it. That's all just me. That's probably my mom, who's not musical. But
she listens to jazz.
No.
Oh, that's just her personality.
Yeah, she's just weird like me. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't know, man.
This far into the game, do you still listen to classic rock? Do you listen to anything new? Like, what does someone like you listen to at this point?
I was listening to Mamma Mia when I rolled in the parking lot.
I wasn't expecting that answer.
Sorry. I'm obsessed with ABBA. I love them.
Someone has been trying to sell me. I've never really listened to ABBA. I remember when I was a kid and I used to listen to Ace of Base. My dad said, "Oh, it sounds like ABBA."
They're Nazis, you know that?
Is that for real? I'm Jewish too. Jeez.
Yeah, me too, man. You got to ditch Ace of Base. Yeah, you got to let.
Are you for real, Ace of Base?
Yeah.
Oh, now I know what that sign she was talking about. It was the
That's
swastika.
the swastika.
She saw the sign and it was the frickin' swastika.
Don's thinking about editing.
No, this will go out. This is fun.
Oh, I'm so disappointed.
The world must know.
Sorry to
about
break
Ace
your
of
heart
Base.
about Ace of Base.
I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Golly. Okay, so ABBA, I should check them out.
I mean, that's what I was listening to, but I was thinking about it on the way here. I was like listening to, I'm a bad person because I use Spotify and I shouldn't because it's bad.
Spotify? What
No, you know what's wrong with the money and all the money.
I don't know.
Oh, dog.
Is Spotify crooked?
Do you know?
They're ripping off the artists.
Do you know how much people are paid per stream?
per their song for their song
Per stream.
So is that how they get paid? Like if someone plays their song?
So what do you think would be? You place a song on Spotify, you stream it. What do you think would be fair pay to that artist?
Oh God, that's tough. I wouldn't even know where
What
to
would
begin
be?
with
But
that.
what do you think would be fair?
Like if I just listen to a song right now with my Spotify account and I play Ace of Base the Sign, which I would never do again.
Yeah.
And
How
you're
much?
saying from that one stream,
How much should they get paid?
I mean, I guess per stream, I'm just gonna say like 10 cents,
10
20
cents, because you pay like $10 a month. Right. And you think 10, 20 cents would be fair. So the going rate on Spotify is 0.003 cents per stream.
Oh, wow.
So
no one's getting rich off that.
Well, and they're the worst. And like Tidal, I think, is the best. And it's like 0.009 per stream. Right? Like it's crap. It's crazy. That's what's wrong with
So
Spotify.
they would need hundreds of streams just to make $1?
Yeah.
If I'm doing my math right.
How much, I guess, before streaming services, how much did musicians make off of album sales?
Right, they've never really made bang.
Well, album sales were always the thing, and that you used to want to get signed. Even when I was a teenager and I was in bands, it was like we got to get signed, guys. We got to do our gigs at the local club and wait for somebody to come see us and sign us to this record label. Right?
That's not a thing anymore.
No.
Right?
Well, that's why
Barely.
concert tickets are getting so expensive, because that's the way they have to make their money.
Right, and well, that's always been the case, right? And that's how when you see the movies about like Johnny Cash and whatever, it's like that's what the record industry is, right? We're gonna loan you $2 million to make this album. Now you make the album and it costs however much money, right? And now you got to pay back that $2 million in sales. Yeah, so. You might make 20 cents while the record company makes 80 cents per every album sold, right? And you need to make that back. And then once you clear that, you start making profit. So you tour the album. And you tour the album, and that's how you make money. People buy tickets, they come see the show. Now, the act is completely irrelevant, right? People are buying tickets to go in and pay for drinks and food and snacks. The artist still mostly gets ticket sales, but
merch too.
And merch.
Right.
But the majority of a ticket now, the tickets are released, they go on sale, Ticketmaster buys them all, and they sell them all at a 20% markup. So the artists are still getting the worst of it. So anyway, I use Spotify, and I shouldn't, but I do. And I have a playlist which is just everything I like, which is all over the place. And I was thinking about how I have a lot of close ties and memories to almost every song on the list. Like I can usually remember who told me about it, or at least a couple details that I really like about it. And yeah, I was just kind of flipping through, and I wound up on Mamma Mia when I rolled into the parking lot.
Well, my sister and I shared a playlist on Spotify, who is also hosts this podcast.
Yeah.
Spotify, don't burn in hell.
Yeah, we're burning a lot of bridges tonight. That's okay.
Damn, man, we don't get our
It's
.009.
Nobody's even offered us that much yet. So we've got. We shared this playlist of songs that we kind of grew up listening to, and if you my dad, for all I knew while he was alive, was he liked country music. So in the car he'd be listening to the Statler Brothers and Alabama and stuff like that. And my mom liked musicals, and the only albums that I knew that we had at home was the Carpenters, an Anne Murray album,
Love the Carpenters,
and Handel's Messiah. Those were the 3 albums that I knew about. And my dad also had Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Waters, which my sister and I played the hell out of. 5 and 7 singing Cecilia at the top of our lungs, like, you know, on the phonograph in our small shared bedroom while my bedroom was being built at the time. And so we've got like We've Only Just Begun by the Carpenters. It's like anytime like it comes on, it just takes us back there. Cecilia, Eddie Rabbit's I Love a Rainy Night. So it's like this weird sort of like eclectic compilation of songs that just like transport you back to a time sitting in your dad's little yellow Mazda driving to school, the smell of cigarettes.
It's kind of like the smell thing, right? Like, you know how smells are so good at transporting you. Sometimes you hear a song the right way. I heard one, actually I Shazammed it at work because we get music piped in, like corporate music piped in. And I heard this song that I used to hear at karate when I was like 6 or 7. Wow. And I loved it, and it's been stuck in my head for 20 years or more, and I've never been able to catch it with enough time. And I got it one time. Like one time I got it, and I was just like, I have this now. It was only a memory for so long, but I never got rid of it. I never let go of it. I never lost it. There's so many things like that you can just hold on to. I still remember.
What were they jamming to at your dojo?
Oh, that particular one.
Yeah, very curious. I mean, all they ever played at my dojo growing up was the Rocky soundtrack over and over again.
It was the song. It's a 90s song called "Brimful of Asha" by this British group called Corner Shop, but it's specifically the Norman Cook remix with Christopher Walken on the album cover. So like, what in the world? What the hell? But I never forgot it. And I think that's a whole thing too. You know, there's that whole part of it. But yeah, I'm always listening to like a lot of different stuff, and like I definitely don't at this point have any genre preferences or boundaries at all. Like if something is recommended to me, I'll check it out almost always. I'm not going to be play music guy, but I'll do this just for fun and kind of flash through this and say, okay, so D'Angelo is the first one. You know, remember D'Angelo?
No.
D'Angelo's a great R&B artist who released a seminal album called Voodoo in 1999 or 2000, and it's like bananas. It's all the who's who of R&B and neo soul and hip hop at the time. They recorded Electric Ladyland, or Electric Lady Studios in New York. It's unbelievable. D'Angelo Voodoo, check that out.
Check it out.
After that, Saint Vincent, Bee Gees, Thelonious Monk, Orchestra Harlow. Okay, Orchestra Harlow is crazy. It's this thing called it's called a Latin opera called Homie, which is like a Spanish salsa version of Tommy.
You were telling me about this when I first started working here.
And my cousin, who Don knows, her husband is Puerto Rican, and he introduced me to this music, which is written by this guy named Larry Harlow, who was a Jew in New York in the 70s, and is one of the one of the big names in early salsa music, where he was like writing this like grand project, and it's like Celia Cruz and like all these big names do this whole like Latin salsa version of Tommy, and it's so sick. Like stuff like that, you know what I mean? It's like I know exactly who told me about it and when and what it means to me and like how I can find it, and it's like been this great whole jumping off point for me because I always wanted to learn more about Afro-Cuban music anyway, and you know, it just goes and goes and goes. Motorhead,
okay.
The Cars.
Oh, these are bands I've heard of.
Boogarines, that's an indie band. Boogarines. They're an indie band from Brazil. I don't understand the lyrics. I don't speak Portuguese, but the music is like incredible, you know. There's just so much. System of a Down. The Chats, one of my all-time favorites. They're an Australian punk band.
I love punk.
You should check out the Chats. They're so good. They are so... Yeah.
Is this recent or is this old?
No, it's recent.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like young guys from Queensland.
Okay.
Like desert guys.
Yeah.
It's really good.
All right.
Yeah.
That I'll check out.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your music, What do you love about the most? Like, as far as performing goes, do you love recording? Do you love just jamming with your band? Do you love performing in front of an audience? Like, what is it that like is your favorite aspect of this game?
Oh man, my favorite thing is probably writing a piece and having it performed, like standing in front of it. These days when I do like my own big band, usually I hire a bass player because I want to be out front, and that's my favorite thing. Is like writing a new piece and you give it to the band and it's like working. You can see they're all like kind of like like hearing it right away and it's going well and everybody's like.
Wait, I'm sorry. You make the song, you guys practice, but then you hire a bass player so you can watch?
No, like I conduct.
Well, you conduct.
Yeah. So, well, because when it's like the big band, when it's like an 18 or 20 piece, it's mostly written music. So like I also have Jake Kaplan's Haunted Big Band, which is my like large ensemble. But just so like.
God, 18 people. Like, do you guys all get together on the reg and practice?
No, they
just
just
18 people.
You just get pros who can read. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll send you this something so you can like hear this stuff.
Yeah, dude, I want to hear some of this.
But there's like, I write the score, so I'll sit down with a big document like this, basically all the parts on one page. Right? That's what I'm looking at when I'm conducting. So sometimes in jazz music, like these people just see slashes and chords. So they know because they're pros, they understand the music, they study, they understand the influences, they understand the references. I can tell them to play old folk swing at quarter note equals 116, and they know what to do. The drummer knows what cymbal I want. The guitar player knows I want just quarter notes like Count Basie. The piano player knows to play little twinkles, and the bass player knows to play a walking bass line of quarter notes. They just know, right? And then as it develops, there's more and more notes. The horn players are told exactly what to do and how to do it. Oh, yeah.
So right now we're looking at, this is called a music sheet, right?
This is called a score. So this is everybody's parts.
Yeah, and it looks like everyone's, what are the lines called? I mean, most people, it has repetitive, symbols on each one, but then you go to this, and you said this is the...
Right, so that's like up here, it's like... The drums, the bass, the piano, the guitar are usually reading just chords.
Yeah.
Right?
But then
the horn players are usually reading notes almost all the time. And they're told exactly what to play and how to play it and what volume to do it.
Wow.
Right. So there's all these small details. That little alligator up there tells them to emphasize that note. These little swoopy guys tell them to connect those as a little phrase within this idea, right? So you got to do that for pretty much everybody almost all the time, right? But then you kind of stack them as you want to, you pull them out as you want to. Eventually you wind up in somewhere like this, which is just a solo, right? So now a horn player is going to see those slashes. They're just going to improvise using those chords, right? So most of the time it's almost all written, right? And occasionally it changes. But that's for a big band. That's for the big group where it needs to be really, really reined in. Because if you have that many people doing whatever they want, things can get a little chaotic. But for something like the Featherbird Project, right? This song's called Brand New Tight Jeans. I always talk about, it's about, the feeling of getting a pair of jeans and they're never as good as the first time. You can dry them and wash them, but they never retain that perfect first time, right? But everybody reads this, right? So they all know the horns are playing that top line. The other guys, the bass, the drums, the piano, the guitar, are all playing that lower line.
Jake, I can't believe you write all this, man, for the whole band. This is wild.
It's just I don't know. It's my thing. And then...
Don, are you not blown away by...
He knows. We talk about this stuff all the time. Yeah. And then, like, there's a solo section, right? Then we improvise, and then we play the melody one more time, and we're done. Sometimes it goes that way, sometimes it doesn't.
I mean, you said you're into, like, creative writing. Like, this is like another version of creative writing.
Yeah, that's why I start with the title, right? Well, we'll go back to that. How am I going to do all this if I don't know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people do write with just sound. They sit down and they start and they find something that sounds cool, and
They're just messing around, and all of a sudden they play something. They're like, "Oh, that sounds
maybe,
Okay.
or it comes out of a practice exercise, or they're practicing soloing on Take the A Train, and then they wind up playing an idea that sounds cool, and they start to apply it somewhere else, right, or whatever. There's so many different ways. For me, and what I want to get across to the people who listen to my stuff, this is what I'm finding works the best.
And are you cool with what you're doing now, or do you have something that you're aiming towards? Do you have like an ultimate goal or like a dream with what you want this to end up going toward?
No. I used to. I mean, I wanted to be a rock star for a while. It was pretty tough, honestly. It was probably I was in this band in the sake of being vulnerable. And you should check this band out too. The music's on Spotify. It's so good. I was in this band called Sleep Monster for a while, which is bonkers. It was not my brainchild. That's a case where I was like a hired gun, right? We need a bass player. We think you'd be a really good fit for this.
You tried out for it, or they just
No, they called me for that one.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, down. The music was so good. I loved it so much, and it felt so good. And it felt like a thing we could have taken to another level. But then the pandemic happened, and the person whose brainchild it was kind of divested, right? And I had to kind of like, it was a little sad when I was like 28 or 27 a couple of years ago. And just being like, I think it was probably, honestly, when I was 27. Because, the whole 27 club thing.
I have a shirt. That said something like the 27 Club's got Bosca. It's got everyone on there.
Yeah, it's insane, right? And I kind of remember like, maybe it was like around when I was 27 or turning 28 and just being like, I'm turning 28. The Beatles were already over it by this time. Most of my favorites were dead. And I'm like...
It's a weird feeling, right?
Well, yeah, it totally is. And I'm like, and I have a job. I work at a bike shop, right? And it was like a really weird, complicated thing where I was like, I had to come to terms with the fact that like I wasn't satisfied with not being a rock star still. And I had to like actually let that go. Yeah. And what I've realized is like, I always thought about like, well, what if I go to New York? Or what if I try to like go to LA? I don't know, like whatever.
Yeah. The typical moves.
Yeah, like the typical moves. And I always kind of think about like what would that do for me? Do I care about making money with this stuff? No. Do I care about what people think of it? Yeah, kinda. But not enough to like affect the way I do it. It's a little bit selfish, maybe. It's mostly for me. But it's really, like, Don and I at work, we were talking about, like, being aware of your context in the world. Who you are and how you got where you are and, like, what big and small things have happened to get us where we are now. Like, again, more music stuff. I was playing Fiddler on the Roof. Did you ever see Fiddler?
Damn right I did.
Yeah, because you're a good Jewish boy.
I'm a great Jewish boy.
So I didn't...
Love you, Mom.
I didn't see or, like, hear it or anything besides hear about it and know it's what it was until, like, 2019. And I'm, like, playing it. I'm playing in the pit. I'm reading the music.
We're talking If I Was a Rich Man?
Yeah. Like, I knew what it was, but I never, like, saw it. And I was playing in the pit, and I'm, like, playing, and it gets to that last scene where they're kind of, like, starting to, like, leave. They're like, oh, we're going to go to Chicago. We're going to Paris. We're going to New York. And I had this moment where I was like, oh, my God. Like, that's my great-grandparents. Mm-hmm. And it totally, like, flipped my whole life upside down because I was just like... whoa, like things started spinning and I was like, I need to be thinking about this stuff because it really matters. Yeah. And, with going into music with that kind of like intentionality, it really helps me find like my place in the world, like who I am and what I want to say and why. and why everybody should, and like, you know, why I always encourage people to make stuff even if they don't have training or they don't feel prepared or they feel scared. Like, it's worth doing it anyway. We all have this. It's one of those uniquely human things to make. You know, you look at the parallel evolution of like Homo sapiens and other things, and like other things don't make to make. Sometimes they'll make for mating, the birds of paradise, or you look at those cuttlefish who make the nests out of or the pufferfish who make the nests out of the shells. Like, it's cool. It's a mating thing. They're trying to attract attention, but like, we do it because we do it. And there's cave paintings, and there's hieroglyphs, and it's just, it goes forever, right? We do this. This is what we do. And I just feel the need to do it. I don't feel satisfied unless I am, you know?
You know, Jake, it's reminding me of my own path, kind of, because, you know, growing up my entire life, like, my passion was professional wrestling. Like, that's all I cared about. Like, in the yearbook, Mr. Sam. Sam is going to be, I wasn't Mr. Sam quite yet, but Sam will be a professional wrestler. And so for 10 years in the business, I'm having my highs and lows. I'm meeting my childhood heroes. I'm having great shows. I'm having crappy shows. I get pretty good at it, but then I stop. And as of almost 2 years ago, I got back into it, and I might not be able to move the way I used to, but man, being able to let go of, like, I've got to make it to WrestleMania. I've got to make it to WWE. I've got to be a champion. I've got to win this match. Why is the booker booking me to lose? Like, now I'm just like, I just want to go out there and have fun and have my kids watch me and have a good time. And it's my art, you know? And
You love it.
I love it, and I've never had more fun in the ring. I don't think, thinking back, I don't even know if I was having fun before. Like, I knew I was doing it, and I was proud that I was doing it, but I don't think I had fun. Now I can actually be in the ring and soak up the moment and feel like this is freaking awesome, and take my time out there and enjoy every second of it, and letting go of, like, these goals of, like, I got to make it big, I got to do this and that. Letting go of that is one of the best feelings in the world, when you can just make the art because you love it.
And so I would ask you this. Do you think the 12-year-old version of you would feel that way?
No.
Do you think the 80-year-old version of you would feel that way?
I think, explain, what do you mean?
Do you think the 80-year-old version of you would feel similarly as you do now? Like, you're glad you went back and you did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Which is, who's wiser, the 12 or 80, and who would you trust?
God, I would hope the 80.
Right,
Yeah.
of course, right? And it's like,
Solid point.
We sort of find these things where it's like, I made so many choices to get away from performing because I was just tired of the competitive nature of it. And it's actually been really nice to kind of have just like a job that I also like, that helps. It pays the bills. Especially now, like, things have shuffled around a bit at work. I'll spare everyone the details, but you know, things have shuffled a bit, and I think where I've landed suits me a lot more. It's given me a more rounded out version of, like, balance.
Yeah.
And, like, what that really means is I can put everything I want to in everything I want to. And when it comes to making music and stuff, like, it's the doing it that I love. It's the sharing it that I love. If people like it, that's great. And of course I want people to like it. Like, I'm an egomaniac. I make music. Of course I am. You can't deny it. It's part of it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, I do feel like I'm doing it for me, and I do feel like I'm doing it for the performers, and I think people respect that because it's honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's even upped your game in the art.
Yeah, and I don't care if it sells because I don't need to sell it.
Yeah. You don't find your worth off of that.
Yeah, I need to pay my musicians, but I don't need to make my money that way.
Yeah.
And when I do, it's just great. It's still, every time I do it, it's a pleasure, you know?
If someone such as myself or Don or anyone listening wants to hear your work, where can they go? Where can they find it? Whether it be live or on a Spotify or wherever.
I actually don't have any music on Spotify, but that's not because of some like principle thing. It's all like being prepared. I don't think I have anything that's completely finished yet that I'm like happy enough to put there.
True artist
But
right
I do
there.
have a lot of stuff on my website, which is just jkaplanmusic.com. That's definitely the best place. You can check out Featherbird. You can use our Instagram, which is @Featherbird or our website, which is worstbandinphilly.com. You can find us there. And yeah, pretty much everything else you'd find from those two places.
Right on. Don, you got anything else, brother? I got to re-listen to this episode. That was a lot of good information.
Yeah, I mean, Jake and I talk philosophy, and we should get a second episode to have them talk about Egyptology.
Dude.
How'd they do the pyramids, brother?
That's my third thing besides music and bikes is Egyptology.
I used to teach a little ancient Egypt, so
It's the best. I love it so much.
Nah, but yeah, it's thanks so much for being on the podcast. I'm so glad that we finally got a chance to do this.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasure to listen to you talk about kind of your philosophy and your process to going through that. And,
Thanks, Don.
And the passion of the bicycle, which I didn't expect to talk about at all today, and it really kind of drove the whole creativity conversation.
It does drive.
That's true.
Heck yeah. Oh, there it is. Are you a dad?
No.
Not yet? All right, because you got those jokes ready.
I'm well on my way. Jesus, with lines like that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, brother. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening. And Jake, maybe we could do it again one day. You're
Anytime.
awesome, brother.
Anytime.
Don, pleasure as always.
Always.